Whoa, now what's up with it, world? It's your minds and them, the toothless wonder, and I got an action-packed one for y'all. Yes, sir, boy. It's gonna be the yeah to the yeah. Shout out to my man, I believe it's Astro Godspeed on my last video. I'm gonna start going live at some point. I gotta come up with, sit down, think about like some topics, and write some notes down. Cause normally these joints just be spurred of the moment. You feel me? So I, ask, if anybody got any, topics they want to hear my thoughts on. Because typically I come from a different perspective, right? You know what I'm saying? So the brother asked me about my thoughts on, what are my thoughts on single mothers. And for some reason, he specifically asked me, like single mothers with 3 or more kids. But I'm going to just cover single motherhood in general. And I'm going to try to cover this in totality. And I'm going to try not to rush it. Because there's so many layers to this. You know what I'm saying? Because I got an analytical brain, right? Where do I begin? First of all, let me say this, right? When we're talking about single motherhood, predominantly in the black community, right? We're attempting to grasp a concept that has never existed in mass on earth. Unless the woman's husband died, prior, up to the 60s, single motherhood wasn't a thing. Like I said, in Babylon, we've had to create terms for stuff that hasn't previously existed, like co-parenting, dating, single motherhood. And as we see, none of it works. But the ill part about it, maybe let's say what we're 2-3 generations into it's so normalized now that, like, let's say, how the Hispanics do, Asian man, even though we see these examples of this, for us it seems odd, or the abnormal is now so normalized, we're kind of prone to deal with it. Let me get straight into it. What are my thoughts on single motherhood? For me, I mean, it is what it is. I personally, let me draw it back. Now, when I, was a young up and comer in the game, right? Typically, let's say 18, 25, I always dated older women. I think, even though and this is like, let's say 90s, early 2000, right? I was more, I guess, ahead of as far as mentally, right? Maybe not in the other aspects, financially, so on and so forth. But and I always had a desire for family, being raised where I seen, my grandparents were married 70 years. My grandmother on my mother's side, all her husbands died. She just remarried. I'm a product of the last husband. You know what I mean? So, like, I grew up in the family construct. Now, when I go outside and start perceiving the world, then I'm seeing what's now more normalized, even though I didn't come from that environment. So understanding the importance of family when I dated these or was going with them or dealing with however I was dealing with these single mothers, I'm coming into it with a more of a family perspective. Like, I had one shorty I dealt with for, 3-4 years, and her kids used to call her by her first name, and I thought that was completely odd. And I'd like, yo, why they call you, but like explain to me, like, I was like, no, so it's so crazy. I didn't know my mama. I had heard people say her name, but I was so in my space, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. One day we was at the grocery store and the woman called her name. And when we got in the car, I said, why that woman call you that? She said, boy, that's my name. I said, all these years, I thought your name was Mom. And I was like 11, 12, 13. Maybe I was green or naive or idealistic or whatever, Cabby. But when I step into this here, I'm not stepping in like, rah, rah, I'm the man, y'all gonna woo, woo. I typically, and I'm great with kids. Like, even now, a lot of these kids are grown and they still reach out to me, or like some little phrase I use, they're saying it now, or whatever. So I had an influence and impact in a positive way, even though, like, a lot of times I was drinking or whatever. But I wasn't drink abusive. Typically, I'm more of the happy-go-lucky. So they be like, I'm more free with my money. I'm more funner to be. I'm not as stern, per se. You know what I mean? But I always understood the importance of family. And I seen, again, me and my mom being some type of community activist, not just in the courthouse and talking wild to them folk, but then in my community, like I said in the last video about me giving black people a pass. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought that's what I was supposed to do for the totality of the community. You know what I'm saying? Like what they say, eye for eye, leave everybody blind if you're going like that. But then, then we're saying da-da-da. I thought I was not doing a great service, but I thought I'm filling in a gap. You see what I'm saying? Because my dad wasn't there. Now, granted, I had, grandfather, uncle, stuff like that. So I understood without quantifying it to a great degree the importance of fatherhood or a man being in the home, even though I was younger. You see what I'm saying? Um, so I'm coming in to fill in the gap. And from what I understand, that's what a man do. But I think what's happening now is, and I wasn't aware of this then, men are becoming more hip to the game. So I don't think single motherhood is the problem. The problem is the spirit that most single mothers have. I think that's the real issue. Say, now, black man, black woman, we both got our issues, struggles, traumas here in Babylon, right? Okay, my experience in the treatment world. We start off in a group, right? We all have this similar trauma, right? But as we continue on and attempt to heal, and we now forge a bond based on our healing. Let's say there's a law decree that only black men and black women can deal with each other. It'll only work if we meet each other where we're at with it. She's going to have to understand I'm not in the best financial situation. She's going to have to understand that. But we can build and work together like we see other people do if that is the actual goal and application, not just lip service. I'm going to have to understand that she's got a whole bunch of trauma and whatever else. Other men's kids, woo. And I have to be mindful of that if I'm going to engage in it. But I think now in the advent of social media, what's happened, brothers have got together for their various experiences, typically with single mothers. And now in an attempt to play hardball, because we have no control over the culture, the laws, the ideologies, right? Now what has been birthed out of that is brothers saying, we're not dating single moms. We're not taking y'all to dinner. We leaving the country. We're going to get a more feminine woman. The only power the black man has is the power over his own decision making. I've seen statistics, I don't know how true they are, but I like to believe they're somewhat accurate, that say that black men typically marry black women 85% of the time. You see what I'm saying? So brothers going their own way is only, let's say, 15%, right? So black men are still, marrying, dealing with black women. I think the problem comes into play based on a lack of knowledge of the game, how would I word it? The game inside of the game that most men aren't aware of. And I wasn't aware of it until I hopped on social media and started hearing from other brothers that typically, because of the spirit of the single mother, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage as a black man. And because of whatever we've gone through in our prior experiences, we're not doing that no more. I'm not. It's too much of a liability and not enough of, there's just not enough of a personal incentive for me personally, for the most part, to even have that in the scope of my thinking. Because I understand more oftentimes than not, I'm going to have to deal, not even with another man's kids, but typically he's somewhere around. You see what I'm saying? It's hard to have a harmonious household when you have someone else attempting to steer the direction, whether he's there or not. That's a battle you got to fight, and most brothers ain't trying to fight that one. We've seen a whole bunch of clips of, man, doing what he's supposed to do, and he come home and main man got his PlayStation hooked up to the TV. Now we understand there will always be a bond between, the single mother and her kid's father that you probably can't penetrate. We understand that now. So a lot of times brothers are saying no to being, as they call it in certain spaces, step dummies, because it's a raw deal and you got enough stuff to fight with. You understand, ain't nobody coming to save you. Don't have a whole lot of support system. And a lot of times what happens, if any brothers are listening, no matter how the situation went with the said single mother, typically you were the brunt of the blame, no matter if you did what XYZ or didn't do XYZ. You know what I'm saying? Very seldom does a single mother say, well, here's where I'm wrong at, or do, right? Right now, it's a raw deal. And I think that's why a lot of brothers aren't contributing to this. I saw a video from a sister saying, and I believe she's a single mother, And she said she's been out the game for 10 years, but now she's about 40. She's looking to, you know what I mean, woo woo, right? And she said, the black man's preference doesn't equal the black woman's demise. In that, I would beg to differ. Again, a lot of the spirit that comes along with single motherhood, not single motherhood in and of itself, a lot of times the spirit that's attached to it is also attached to the system as it currently stands, which allows or incentivizes a certain mentality of independence, certain traits of masculinity. You see what I'm saying? That make it hard for these parties to come together. It gets real deep. It gets real deep, especially as I'm going through this, trying to quantify or articulate a solution. Here's the solution, as stark and grave as this may sound. We may not start real. We talk about it in lip service and whoop, 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 right? But lip service and application are two different things. Because typically, once I start working on something, I don't have time to talk about it. Typically, you notice people who talk the best stuff do the most nothing. I have to see it in your behavior. Not even that. I have to feel it coming off your spirit and your aura. They say 65% of communication is nonverbal. I've talked to a plethora of brothers who, because of their situations, let's say they come home from jail or, underemployed or whatever the case may be, it is kind of the easy way out. And see, here's the thing that most men don't realize. We may just become hip to the game, but these women are already hip. It used to baffle me, right, as to why certain sisters would get with certain type of men, but they're getting with these men because they feel the men need them in some capacity. And if he needs me in some capacity, he can't hold me accountable. I've seen women purposefully pick a quote unquote lesser man for control purposes. Like even my personal situation, as I've gotten more, I don't even want to say masculine, as I've just gained a understanding and then attempt to apply just being a better man. Yeah, females like me, but I think they scared of me too. Because they know they just can't tell me only any old thing and I'll go for it. They know I'm not gonna, and I don't have to tell them, they can feel it coming off me. I'm not gonna give up my leverage. You see what I'm saying? There's certain things I'm not gonna do, and anybody, male or female, that's around me is gonna have to operate a certain way. Not because I'm levying that on you, I've levied that on myself first. And here's what's crazy, right? And we see it all over social media, like with Vivica Fox and these ladies or whatever, where a lot of time it's, as I called it in previous videos, being drunk from the wine of Babylon. These women have drunk from the wine of the fornication of Babylon so much. When you're drunk, you're delusional. Like a lot of these women still believe that at 60 years old, they can still get a man to, wine and dine them, so on and so forth, woo, 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 woo. It's probably not going to happen. So you're probably either, from what I've seen when they get older, they either start smashing on young dudes who don't know no better, or they get it with a guy who's quote unquote beneath them for control and power purposes. Just like the Trina woman who hopped up on some podcast and told the world her husband can't spend no money unless she say so. Do you really think that's the type of man she really wanted? I don't think so. But at this point, that's the only type of man that she can actually get on her program per se. And then not even to make it such a woman thing, but I think because of the culture, women have been conditioned to not see a man as such. So it's either one or two extremes. It's either he kind of what they call beta, buck broken, easily pacifiable, so on and so forth. Or it's way on the other side of the spectrum where he has the hyper masculine traits or whatever, but not the internal ones. You see what I'm saying? It's a slippery slope, because here's what'll happen. And back to the sister who said that black men's preferences aren't the black one's demise. It is when the system falls. because all that rhetoric will go out the window based on the circumstances. She's going to have to adapt. That's why you've seen that soft-lived soft girl era, where the women were playing feminine chameleon, but it's not really in their heart. Like with me, I'm sober, yeah, by choice, but it was actually because the circumstances were getting so exponentially harder that the reality of my situation, I could no longer live in the delusion of it. So I got hard in the paint because of hard situations that I had placed myself in. At this current dispensation in time in mass, I don't think the situation will require a change. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes change has to be forced. That's why I think the brothers are making the stance they're saying, to the point where they don't even want to go on dinner day. And then when they do, we've seen the list about we ain't going to Cheesecake Factory, we ain't going here, we ain't going there, you know what I mean? Because they've been so, I don't want to say entitled, but the game has ran so long, like with my dad, right? A lot of times when the game leaves you behind, you the last one to know. So you'll still continue to grasp at things that no longer ain't hitting the same way. You know what I mean? Even so much so, a lot of these women are now going almost into gray area prostitution to keep up the illusion. But I don't fully blame women. And here's what I prayed last night. I'll let y'all into my prayer life. Because like I said, I'm always thinking and whatnot. So I said, Most High, I know you're empathetic. I know you're showing me a whole lot of grace and mercy, right? But as I look over the landscape, and let's say I see Bone Quisha with the 3 kids, right? And maybe she's loose, or maybe she got a bad attitude. All the typical black woman stuff, right? But is she really like that because she's really like that? Or is she like that because she grew up in Babylon and her dad wasn't in her life? And she started looking for love in all the wrong places, got duped, and then it turned her bitter. And then because of the upholding of the system, she was never really forced to look at herself and her decisions and then heal from it. You see what I'm saying? Does she get grace and mercy? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can't answer that. Why you choose me? You know what I'm saying? Because I've committed some great atrocities upon the earth. But again, my repentance came from great chastisement and discipline. Whom the Lord loveth, he correcteth. And I fear, and I made videos about this, I fear that unless the illusion is dissipated, they won't be able to see the reality of the situation, and they may never change. And then if they do change, it might be too late. I'm fortunate to get sober when and how I got sober, because I've been trying since April of 2016. March of 2025, I'll just have 4 years, because I couldn't deal. Now, I seen the reality of what it was. I just didn't want to deal with it, so I revert back to old behaviors. And then I would get grace and mercy, but my situation got so much harder each and every time that now I realize it's going to be hard. This going to be a long road. It's probably going to suck, and I might just have to deal with it. And in the process of doing that each and every day, I got stronger. I got these various attributes honed that I previously didn't have. You know what I'm saying? I have no desire to go back to a certain lifestyle or whoremongering or being manipulative, or because trust and believe it is now that, see, when you heal, you see everything else outside of you clear. So as a man, I have certain manly desires, you understand me? But what stops me from doing it, one, my own conscience, two, because I can tell she's not healed. If I engage in this woman or engage with this woman, I feel like I'm taking advantage of her. So like even when I was at the job, like I put them on game as I knew it to be. And I could kind of I could kind of tell like they felt safe in my presence, or they didn't feel like I was trying to bamboozle them, nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Because they might not have seen it, but I seen them as vulnerable. I seen them as leading with their body when you're deeper than that. And again, that goes into this Babylonian construct, because everybody on social media butt nagging now. And I told someone else I was dealing with this. I was like, yo, you realize you more than a set of butt cheeks, right? But if you're so prone to being in a space where that's all your value is, or that's all anybody's ever, you know, looked at you for, or, you know what I mean, woo 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 woo. Just like we can see a whole lot of women, like the Dr. Bryant woman that's on the Cam Newton joint. She's a supposed doctor, but the way she was dressed, it was like she was just leaving out of, you know what I'm saying, Magic City. These other components of femininity aren't championed. And for those of us that do, we're few and small in number. And they may realize this intellectually, but still lean to whatever, because it's keeping them afloat at this current time. Not, and I saw a video about this where black people typically, we don't play the long game, or we don't have any desire for legacy. That's why, like, I'll make these articulations, which is true, about, you know, black women using the kids as leverage or a financial tool, woo, even though that destroys generational wealth and so on and so forth. We don't care nothing about that. We've been taught to be individualistic. And to some degree, you kind of had to be for survival purposes. Ultimately, I believe Babylon has, like, a financial collapse, the way society functions with the ease and convenience and so on, that has to be obliterated. It has to be. Then maybe we can start the steps of whatever. Then maybe we can start loving each other as we see each other where we're at with it. But for me personally, currently, I ain't finna do none of that, because I know it's too much of a liability. As far as any kind of extended period, and it sounds crazy when I tell people this, but they do not believe me for some reason. Since my last shorty passed, and I dealt with a few females, kind of short-lived, whatever. But as far as dealing with a female that I actually enjoy being around outside of sex, because if I don't enjoy being around you, or enjoy your company, or enjoy the conversation, it's not even gonna make me want to have sex with you. Even if you turn me on carnally, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I've been forged in the paint, right? I dealt with, and she was a white woman. I dealt with her from the time I actively started dealing with her. Within about a week and a half, she had relapsed, and she was no longer the person I had met. So I had to cut her off. But I reached back a couple times to get her help. Just cause I dealt with you personally. But once I seen, you know, the words and the action wasn't meeting up, I'm gone. Because now you're becoming a distraction and a hindrance to me. And at the time, one of the contributing factors of me choosing to deal with this woman had nothing to do with sex. It was because, you know, like, I want to live more agricultural. We could talk about, like, Hebrew stuff, even though she was a white woman. Like, she was very knowledgeable, you know what I'm saying? She didn't get jabbed. That was a big one, you know what I'm saying? So I felt like it was like a job opportunity. I don't want no job, but the opportunity seems to be promising. I'd be a fool not to see about it. But in the back of my mind, if this go left, or if I see these signs, I'm explaining it to you. And if I continue, I'm gone. So typically when I get into something, just like they say the woman does, she gets into a relationship with an extra strategy of how she getting out of it. And I think as a man in this time and culture, you have to have that. You can't be so overly gone off whatever that you no longer protect yourself. And that's insane, you know, in this day and time where you ingratiate yourself to people, but in the back of your mind, you always have to have a contingency plan if it go left. Because a lot of it's gone left. This is all based out of experience, not necessarily bitterness, because I'm healed. This is out of knowledge and wisdom of today's game we're playing in. But in it, back to the question, what are my thoughts on single motherhood? Well, right now, the government is the man. And you can't be more alpha than the system. I pray for the system, but I personally, for the most part, don't engage in them. I got some sisters on here who, commented, shared emails, so on and so forth, so we building. Now, when I deal with a sister, I'm dealing with from a set of a brother. You know what I'm saying? Even if you could be attractive, but I'm always mindful the standard of burden is on me. You see what I'm saying? So I'm very mindful of how I engage. I don't want to be purposefully flirty, and that's not my intent. No, let me reword that. I don't want to be purposefully like to gas you up or to get a certain emotional response, but have no genuine motive for doing it. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm always aware of what I'm doing. And since that conveys certain, personal woo. So when I engage with, I'm doing it from a man perspective. I'm doing it because I understand a lot, especially if you're called of the Most High. Let's say you're uncovered. Let's say, you're coming to a knowledge of certain things now. You may not have that masculine presence that you feel you can trust. So that goes back into what I was saying about perceiving vulnerability. Even if you don't feel like it, I'm going to be a good steward of your person. You see what I'm saying? Like, even with I go back to the one, she didn't have any kids, but to the last, young lady I was dealing with, I could have been done did it. But I made sure, I said, well, let's continue to play this out, woo in a natural, organic fashion. Because I want to make sure that if I start engaging with you, I don't even want to unintentionally, take you off the path, or now I see, stuff you can't handle, whatever. I still never gotta, and here's the thing, you may never get a closure on why stuff happened. Like when I was trying to get, like why'd you relapse? You know what I'm saying? Simple question. Could never answer it. Start talking about other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, once you realize, I understand you're going to start lying, so I don't take that personally. But you ain't going to keep lying. You see what I'm saying? So, that had to go the way it go. You know what I mean? I still hope the best and wish the best. But in order to protect myself, I got to cut this off. Because there's a saying in the whole treatment world, whatever. That they'll get you to use before you get them clean. It goes back to desire. You know what I mean? And you can never really gauge or measure someone's desire. Only they know that truly and genuinely. That's why I checked out a video from the brother Aquarius Wave. I posted him on my community tab. And his message was basically to the sisters about these fake woke brothers. You know what I'm saying? Who be pandering and overly nice and, like the Derek Waxons of the world, the Yada Awakenings, where they basically tell women all the stuff they think they want to hear. Oh, no, you deserve 7 figures, baby. No, you deserve to be wined and dined. And, oh, man, that's impractical. If we go by the rhetoric that these men talk, now I'm all for striving in all areas, financially, spiritually, mentally, physically, all that, right? But the average man don't make 6 figures. If every man made 6 figures wouldn't be 6 figures. It'd be like $10,000. You see what I'm saying? Just like if they gave everybody $1 million, it wouldn't have the same purchasing power. It's called, it's like inflation. It's like the same thing they do with printing up money. And he was talking about these fake, conscious, woke brothers, like your brother Polites, and they all be freaky pervert. All these brothers who always like hop and bob at the job, always, good morning, queens. But he had an ulterior motive for his nicety. You know what I'm saying? I'm not necessarily nice. I'm cordial. I'm respectful. And I ain't gonna bamboozle you. You know what I'm saying? Even with, like, they might not like me now because of what I stood on. But I think they do miss me because, like, nah, he ain't even try to take advantage of me. All the stuff he said or told me, I done seen it happen now. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was like my big brother, and that's how I really be coming. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, I got bad conscience. And sometimes, like, I ain't gonna say I want to take advantage of people. Sometimes I wish I ain't had the conscience I got, because then I would be able to, like, fulfill my carnal desire, without feeling shamed as I should. You know what I'm saying? Because trust and believe, man, they going out this junk on mothers. They going out here. But that kind of turned me on. I'm like, and I ain't one of them brothers like, you could have been with 10,000 dudes. You just can't be with nobody after me. You know what I'm saying? But I understand you're going to have a past. You're going to have a history. My thing is, I want to see you struggle to heal. I think that's attractive. A woman who's, let's say, they talk about, black women being obese. Let me see you struggle and during there, I couldn't do no more on the trail. That was only 10 minutes. Let me see you do that. Like, that's attractive. Trying to, which goes back to my last video about when you're doing something new, it's going to be uncomfortable. You ain't going to know if you're doing it right. You know what I'm saying? Let me see you. I was going to get them fried. No, I want them, but I'm going to get the salad. Like, little stuff like that. You know what I mean? Even in my own personal, I'm trying, like, I want to be this super great Negro, right? But a lot of times it's built on the foundation of doing small things consistently. You know what I mean? Like I was talking about in a video, another video, where though, they talk about, like, how are black, like me saying, how are black women, quote unquote, bitter, angry, hard to be around, and they can do whatever they want. Because here in Babylon, things of the spiritual or the soul are low on the value system. So we do, like, we'll dress a certain way, we'll go certain places, we'll woo 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 woo, but our souls aren't fulfilled. I'm more on the soul fulfilling things. You know what I'm saying? Family is supposed to fulfill your soul, not be a ends to personal gratification. Okay, I'll bring you back to my last shawty before she passed, which taught me this, and it actually broke me out of having casual sex, right? Because our connection was so whatever, and I'm kind of a different Negro, and she just inherently understood me, so I had to explain myself a whole lot, right? Not that a woman would be my priority or my main focus, but she up there though. I'm gonna make time, you know what I'm saying? Man knows how to compartmentalize and, you know what I'm saying, woo woo, right? But if my main goal, not my main goal, but for lack of a better term, not, if my main goal is your overall well-being and your main goal is my overall well-being, everybody gets their needs met. You know what I'm saying? That's where, how they say, love is a river. That's where the flow Joe goes. You see what I'm saying? It's flowing back and forth. So nobody's getting burnt out on well-doing. You see what I'm saying? But again, as Babylon has made a lot of these situations transactional, everybody's trying to get max benefit, minimum effort, and then wonder why everyone's drained or broken after the fact. Like, what I see a lot in this whole dating game is broken people helping further break other broken people. But nobody's healed. And then you gotta be careful too. Let's say you're the healed individual, whether you be male or female. And I noticed this too. Like, I attract, as they say in like certain, I don't know if it's new age, but maybe the term, but I do attract a lot of broken wings. Like, people come because, I don't know, maybe I have some healing attributes. People say I have a calming influence, right? Which is cool. I'll help anybody. But I also have to be mindful and cognizant to not be drained at the same time. Like, I can give you a jump. I can give you a couple jumps, but you can't drain my battery. Because I can't pull from you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to learn how to charge myself up. Like, when I'm going through various things or whatever, like, I'm quick. It's a little colder now, but I'm quick to go into, the woods or the park and recharge like Goku. You know what I'm saying? Or I'll work out, do a bunch of push-ups. But in my mind, I'm listening to a certain beat that reminds me of the struggle when I was early and like, you know what I'm saying? Give me that yeah to me. You know what I mean? But to the brothers, what would be my advice to the brothers? Thinking about them, understand the game you playing. I ain't telling you do it, don't do it. But more oftentimes than not, it's not going to benefit you because of the way the spirit of single motherhood is set up. You're going into a situation putting yourself last. That never works as a man. You got to put yourself first. Because if you don't put yourself first, you can't compartmentalize everything else or put everything else where it need to be. And nobody's going to respect a man who puts himself behind others. You see what I'm saying? I think, and on the left-handed side of things, that might be part of the lure of the proverbial Pookie or Ray Ray, because he put himself first. Even if it's detrimental to everybody else, which it shouldn't be, me putting me first shouldn't hurt you. You know what I'm saying? He does on the left in selfishness or whatever the case may be. Like, I got a partner, he dealt with a single mother. He's a truck driver. But he just said he couldn't get through to her. She was very entitled or would victim or would play, the victimhood card of, and yeah, that's the situation. But okay, man come with the solution. But a lot of times we'll fall so in love with the victimhood, like the Democratic Party where they preach the victimhood so much, you don't even want to heal because the victimhood gets you the attention. You know what I'm saying? I had a partner like that. It seemed like he liked the attention of people doing him wrong, not realizing, you look like a chump. And I know when you get by yourself, you can't feel like no man. It's not, from what I see now, it ain't easy being no man, Jack. But what else you going to be other than that what you was intended to be? And nowadays, as a man, you just got to protect yourself. And to the single mother who are sisters, trust and believe, all is not lost. There are brothers who will take on single mothers. I don't know if I'm going to do it. It depends on, like, if we interact and whatever, you know what I'm saying? But if we're on the same accord and actuality and application, looking to build together and build past the stuff Babylon put us through, we can run it. But just talking just to be, no, that ain't gonna work. But all isn't lost. They say a man when he finds a wife, you don't find a husband. He has to find you. But in today's time where men do want, especially now, men do want wives, and that's why we online complaining and all that. Here's how you get a man to find you of the character esteem of that what you say you want, right? Do the exact and complete opposite of what you see the modern woman do. You'll stick out like a sore thumb. And on that note, I gotta get in this gym. Y'all, I'ma holler at y'all. Ooh.